Hello and welcome to This Week in Laker Football, your weekly exclusive look into the West Bloomfield Lakers varsity football team on Civic Center TV and 89.3 Lakes FM. I'm Tyler Kieft alongside West Bloomfield Lakers head coach Zach Hilbers. The Lakers opening off the playoffs in prolific fashion, a 42-14 victory at home against Rochester Adams. And we talked about this a little bit last week, Coach, that familiarity playing a factor in game planning and ultimately in execution of that game plan. How much of a help was it, the fact that you've played against this set of guys before, knowing their game plan, knowing their style of play, coming into the playoffs last week?
I mean, it certainly helps, I guess, when you have the outcome that we had. But, you know, that kind of goes both ways. As much as we know their guys, they knew our guys. And it was about who could, I guess, get the right wrinkles here and there, but also stay true to, like, what it is that you guys do. And that right combination is what, you know, I guess luckily got us the win.
What stood out most about this team on Friday night was the defensive performance, both in the trenches and in the air. It was very tough for Rochester Adams to move the football against your team, and especially what stood out was that secondary and those linebackers making important plays. Jaiden Allos with an interception, Blake Simmons with an interception, and that defensive line getting into it both in the trenches and at the second level.
Yeah, they did a really good job, because, you know, Adams can hurt you a lot of different ways. So, you know, we had a different, I guess, little wrinkles put in based on the formation and their tendencies that we tried to, I guess, put our guys in the best spots and, you know, give them credit. We've had to reinvent ourselves a little bit on the defensive side of the ball this year with some injuries, and they did that. And, you know, we're playing with the confidence right now that at least gives us a chance every week.
And how does that play into your game planning week to week, or your meetings, that feeling in the locker room with their players, to have that not necessarily renewed sense of confidence, but growing sense of confidence as the season's gone on?
Well, you definitely have to believe that you can get the job done, like to get the job done, and especially when you talk about playing against the caliber of teams that we're going to play against, you know, hopefully the next 4 weeks. So I think it helps a lot, like them just like seeing their successes and seeing the hard work kind of pay off with some results. And, you know, we just hope that carries over to this week because we're going to play a really good team.
And having that depth is really important at this time in the playoffs, too. It gives you different guys that maybe haven't had as much looks on film before, that have a wide set of talents in their own right, and that's what the benefit was of seeing some of that second string on offense and a little bit on defense last week get some playoff reps in as well. How much of a factor does that play in to growing this team's abilities going forward and continuing to get stronger as these playoffs go on?
Well, it's definitely huge because the more guys you got out there playing, you know, getting the reps, like you said, and playing with confidence and believing in themselves and the scheme, the better off that puts you as a team. It makes your defense and your offense more versatile, more guys that can do more things in different places. So, you know, we've been pretty lucky in that regard.
What was also great on Friday night was the performance of that offensive line, opening up some great holes in that interior rushing game and continuing to be great outside the tackles too. But it's not just a line that's making great plays, it's other skill position players too up the field that really set your team up for opportunities.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, if you've watched our team, we like to run the jet sweep a lot and we like to throw the ball down the field. And Adams really took away both. We didn't have too many completions down the field. Our jet sweep game was really neutralized. So I guess the fact that we were able to adjust and also find ways to move the ball and score was, you know, getting credit to our kids.
How important is that first week of the playoffs to set the tone about A, what you're looking for in playoff football out of the West Bloomfield Lakers, and B, that continued improvement we've already discussed over the last several minutes that has to continue to go forward as you move on in the playoffs?
Well, I guess it's important because if you don't get the job done, your season's over, for one. And then, you know, secondarily, I guess it does give you that sense like, hey, you know, we can do this. Like, that's a good football team, and it was close for a half, and we did our job, and we were able to pull away. And, you know, if we can do that week in, week out, you know, each week you give yourself a chance to play one more week. I told them, all we did, guys, you got yourselves 4 more practices and 1 more game. All right, that's all we have. So we got to do that again if you want the same thing next week.
The Lakers going on the road to take on Utica Eisenhower on Friday night, 7 o'clock kickoff at Swinehart Field in Shelby Township, and the Lakers going on the road there. They'll be broadcast. TV side will be broadcast by Shelby Television via the NFHS network. We are in contact currently with the team at Utica Eisenhower and the MHSAA arranging our broadcast, likely going to be on 89.3 Lakes FM, but we'll keep you updated for official results on that on civiccentertv.com/LakersSports all throughout the week. And Coach, going back to that game, mentioned that first half, having it be kind of a closer game. Rochester Adams, much like in Week 5, got out to a quick score against your team, an early lead, and then your team came back and took the lead before the half. How big of a plus was it to make those adjustments coming into the second half? Or better yet, what adjustments did your team make to go over that hump in the second half and really take over that game in quarters 3 and 4?
Well, you always make adjustments at halftime, whether it's fine-tuning the things that are working or fixing what's not working, both sides of the ball. In the third quarter, they had a couple guys go down with injuries, which I think was part of the reason the margin of victory was so big for us. But a really important drive was right before halftime. 14-7 game that had been pretty closely contested and pretty even, and we were able to use all 3 minutes of game clock, get down there and score. So you're going on the halftime up 21-7. You feel a lot better than if it's 14-7. You're kind of holding on for dear life.
Yeah, a 2-minute drill was excellent for the West Bloomfield Lakers. Got right down to the final seconds of the half before getting ultimately up 21-7, getting the football in the second half, and from there it was all Lakers until the very end of the game. Coach, your lasting thoughts from that opener in the district semifinals against Rochester Adams, and what you take from that looking forward for this team as they have a really tough competitor this week in Utica Eisenhower.
Well, like you said, tough competition this week, so if nothing else, we know that we can play with good teams. And we really knew that ever since we went up to Lake Orion and came out with a close loss, is that we can go on the road and play with really good teams and give yourself a chance to win. Now in Week 4, I think it was Week 4, we went up there and lost. We didn't make winning plays at the end of the game at winning time. So we just have to do that now if you want a chance to play next week.
Lakers going on the road on Friday night. Utica Eisenhower in Utica will be the matchup for the district finals. The winner goes on to the Region 3 final the week after that. The game will kick off at 7 o'clock. We'll have updates all throughout the week on our coverage, whether it will be on TV, on the radio, or on both, or other circumstances on civiccentertv.com/LakersSports. In the meantime, we'll take a break. On the other side, we'll talk to one of the key players in the Lakers' first playoff victory of the postseason, and then later on, we'll preview this week's game against Utica Eisenhower. Stay with us. This Week in Laker Football returns very shortly on Civic Center TV and 89.3 Lakes FM. First down and 10 for West Bloomfield at their 35-yard line. Nance in the gun. Snap. Pocket breaks down. Nance looking for something. Rolls outside. Escapes a tackle to the 25 to the 30. Looking down the field. Got a man open and caught. What was that? Elijah Durham pulls a rabbit out of the hat, and it's a first down to go along with it.
Your West Bloomfield Lakers football team is back in the playoffs. Join us for live coverage of all postseason on the West Bloomfield School District's TV channel, WBTV, Comcast Channel 19, and AT&T Channel 99. All offseason, all Lakers, all the way to Ford Field. Laker playoff football exclusively on WBTV and 89.3 Lakes FM.
My dad and my grandfather are officials. I've grown up around officials and seeing how much they enjoy being part of the games. As a student athlete, I've always appreciated the people out there who are willing to give back to the kids. The Legacy program lets me officiate while I'm still in high school, working younger kids' games. Officiating gives me a better understanding of the game. I get to make some pretty good money for a high school kid, and I even get to spend some quality time with my dad. There's help wanted. Just whistle.
This is Civic Center TV and 89.3 Lakes FM. On cable and the radio. On the web too, and on social media. Civic Center TV, television that's close to home.
Welcome back to This Week in Laker Football, your weekly exclusive look into the West Bloomfield Lakers varsity football team on Civic Center TV and 89.3 Lakes FM. I'm Tyler Keefe alongside West Bloomfield High School varsity football athlete Jaiden Allos, a wide receiver, safety, special teams player, punter for the Lakers extraordinaire, and had a great game in the first playoff game against Rochester Adams, getting involved not just on the offensive end or in the special teams, but also on defense. That's not somewhere we've necessarily seen seen you commonly throughout the season. So what sort of an adjustment was it for you to have a bigger role on defense in that particular game than you've had earlier on throughout the season?
Yeah, so basically a few guys got hurt in our previous game. They needed a guy to step up, and I told them I wanted to play. And my coaches trust me to make a play or at whatever position I'm at.
And so for you as a wide receiver, was that a smooth transition for you to be able to take over those defensive schemes, get out there, get familiar with it, and be ready to go by Friday night?
Really, it was just learning the plays in practice, watching a lot of film. I've played defense my whole life, and I was ready.
Yeah, Jaiden had a big game on Friday night, a pick 6 early on against Rochester Adams to give West Bloomfield the 14-7 lead in the first quarter, and that set them up for ultimately that 42-14 victory in the district semifinals. You're also a special teams player, having been the punter for this team this year. Done a fantastic job there too, over 650 yards punting, averaging right around 35 yards. At times you've been averaging a team record of 45 yards or beyond this season. So for you, being that player that can kind of play everywhere on this team, is that a point of pride for you, and where did that maybe develop?
My coaches know I can play every position. I can do whatever they ask me to do, and they trust me to do it at a high level and 100%.
Jaiden Allos with us on This Week in Laker Football, wide receiver, safety, as well as a punter for the West Bloomfield Lakers varsity football team. And as one of the elder players on this team, you're an upperclassman, you've been on this team, you've seen a lot of Laker football over the past years. How does that help you adjust to more of a leadership role as you are an upperclassman and bringing these younger players along to understand, look, you don't necessarily have to be the star player of the team to be an impact player week in and week out?
They just follow me. They know I'm going to make a play, and I just try to show them it doesn't matter where you are. As long as you're playing 100% and you make plays, it's all that matters. Outside
of the game of football, what are some of your other interests off the field?
I also play baseball. I've been playing baseball my whole life. I have a 4.0 GPA right now, and I like just playing a lot of sports, even if it's outside of football.
I asked this to Burley Peaker early in the season as a baseball player himself and a football player. Do you find that those two sports help you develop the other along the way?
I would say yeah, because just each one just helps me develop and keeps my skills right and ready for whatever sport I have to play or whatever I'm doing, whatever position I'm ready.
As you look forward to the rest of the season and continuing to use your experience across all three phases, and as one of the upperclassmen leaders on this team, what advice do you have for younger players in this program who are getting varsity experience maybe for the first time or possibly could be on that varsity squad next year or years ahead?
They know they just have to keep working hard, show the coaches they want it, and make plays when you're in.
Jaiden, appreciate it. Thank you so much. We'll take a break on This Week in Laker Football. On the other side, Coach Hilbers will rejoin us on the program. We'll preview Friday night's big matchup on the road, Utica Eisenhower in the district finals. Kickoff at 7 o'clock. Our coverage, we'll get updates on that all throughout the week. Likely going to be Shelby Television for the streaming side and the TV side locally in Utica, but we're in conversation with them. We're in conversation with the MHSAA, and the best place for you to go to stay up to date on our potential broadcast of Friday night's game is either on our website through our social media on civiccentertv.com, Civic Center TV 15 on Facebook, as well as Civic Center TV on Instagram and on Twitter, or by sticking with us on our Laker Sports page on civiccentertv.com/LakerSports. This Week in Laker Football continues next on Civic Center TV and 89.3 Lakes FM. Down, takes the snap, looks out to his left, pass, and it's picked off. Jaiden Allos again. Jaiden Allos all the way home. Sets sail and gets a touchdown for West Bloomfield.
This is Civic Center TV and 89.3 Lakes FM. On cable and the radio. On the web too, and on social media. Civic Center TV, television that's close to home. Take a break and tune in to the Splash Live on Civic Center TV and 89.3 Lakes FM. Join Tyler Kieft and Diane Shaban as they go through headlines, events, and update you on the day-to-day in Oakland County. Catch us live weekdays 8:30 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. Watch us on demand at civiccentertv.com. Or watch us on TV at Comcast Channel 15 or AT&T at Channel 99. Missed one of our live broadcasts or one of your local municipal meetings? Check it out online at civiccentertv.com. Every meeting, show, and interview on demand. Thank you for watching and listening to Civic Center TV and 89.3 Lakes FM.
Welcome back to This Week in Laker Football, your exclusive weekly look into the West Bloomfield Lakers varsity football team. All season long on Civic Center TV and 89.3 Lakes FM. I'm Tyler Kieft, alongside West Bloomfield Lakers varsity football coach Zach Hilbers. The Lakers with a 42-14 victory in the district semifinals at home against Rochester Adams. That earns them a spot in the district finals this week Friday. Going on the road to take on Utica Eisenhower. This is not a team or program that you're unfamiliar with, having had matchups with them over the last several seasons, but it's a team that's gotten better year in and year out and is having one of the best years they've had in a long time at Ike. 9-1 overall record coming into this week. Big victories against Chippewa Valley, against Macomb, Dakota, Clarkston, and Oxford also were tough games that they ended up victorious with. And this is a really tough team you're going to match up with on Friday night. What should we be focused on as we think about Utica Eisenhower this week Friday?
Well, a lot of the things that we, I guess, say weekly about our team is that, we play really good teams and really high competition, and that kind of makes sure we're battle tested for when it counts. And you could say all the same stuff about them. You kind of alluded to it. They play in a really highly competitive league. They play a lot of really close games because they play really good teams, and they've won a lot of them. They have an outstanding defense. The most points they've given up all year is 28, and that was in a win. And like you said, the last few years, I started a lot of sophomores 2 years ago, and those kids, you saw them last year as juniors, that core group, I guess you could call it, that were a lot more competitive in our game, and I think they went 6-3, and now those kids have a lot of experience, and you can tell they're bigger and they're stronger, and they're playing really well.
That includes their quarterback, Preston Crum, a 4-year starter, very similar to your 3-year starter in Rick Nance, and a guy that a couple of years ago, as you said, as a sophomore, had a really gritty game and a tough loss for Utica Eisenhower against West Bloomfield, and now he comes in his 4th year, having the best season of his career with plenty of weapons. And those sophomores you talked about, they're seniors now, they're playing their best football. So how do you match up with that, given that you have a bit of a younger team, but you got a lot of your own senior leadership too? Yeah,
we do, and then it's something that I've talked about throughout the year, that we're really fortunate to have not only a strong senior class, but strong senior leaders, and I'm sure you could say the same about them, because you're right. Their quarterback's playing exceptionally confident football right now. We just talked to the kids, like, he is putting the ball in tight windows to his guys, and he trusts them because they're making plays, and it's not like one or two, it's pretty continuous. So it's a challenge. But we've played teams like that. We played Southfield with Isaiah Marshall and his weapons, and Chippewa Valley with Schuster and his weapons, and all these different teams that can attack you a lot of different ways. So we hope that prepares us for this game, because it's coming whether we're ready or not.
How do those tough matchups like a Chippewa Valley with their Jimmy's and Joe's versus yours, and Clarkston, and you mentioned Lake Orion earlier on with their weapons, Southfield A&T. How do those games, those matchups help you better prepare for a situation like this, where you have really good players, veteran players that are playing great football, and it's playoff time too on top of it?
Well, I think it goes back to, it gives you a little bit of confidence that, we've seen this before. We've seen a really physical defense like Lake Orion. We've seen really good receivers with exceptional quarterback play like Southfield. We've seen a big physical kid like Rochester Adams has. And they kind of have a combination of all those pieces. They're not all exactly the same, obviously, but you can see similarities and draw some parallels there. So, it's the unknown sometimes that can give you worry, and we've at least seen some of it.
In the playoffs, these games often come down to the great equalizer being what happens in the trenches. And when you look at the roster for Utica Eisenhower, you look at their offensive line in particular, that is a very big group. Over 1,300 pounds on that offensive line. I think their average player is right around 267 pounds or something like that on their offensive line. You got matchups on your D-line and your front seven, but that's got to be a tough task coming in. What are you looking for from your defensive line in particular, getting after that quarterback and making Preston Justin Crum's job a lot tougher on Friday.
Yeah, they're big physical kids up on that line, from really, really big players. They've been moving people in the run game. And, you know, he doesn't really get hit that much, and part of the quarterback that is. And a lot of that has to do with the O-line, and a lot of that has to do with the fact that he throws the ball quickly and confidently. He doesn't hold it on and extend too many plays. They do a good job of moving them, rolling them left and right. So, yeah, we have to come up with ways to combat them. If they're big, we got to be fast. You know what I mean? We can't have our guys just trying to take on, you know, 330-pound guys head up, because, you know, some of our guys can. They're big, strong kids on our side of the football too, but some guys got to beat them with speed.
Coach, before we let you go, what are some of your main points of emphasis as we approach Friday night, going back on the road for the first time in several weeks into a playoff environment in Utica against Eisenhower, and get ready for what could be either a big catapulting game to get you into the regional final, or it could be the end of your season?
I mean, yeah, you're right. That's like statement of fact right there. You've got a fork in the road moment each week with the playoffs. And, you know, I think it's going to be an absolute battle. I think it's going to be a tight, really close game. As I'm watching like their other films, they've had games come down right to the wire. So we just got to trust in, you know, our preparation and our ability to put ourselves in the right spots. So, you know, at the end of the game, when it comes time to like make those plays and make a difference, we're ready to make them.
Two Red Division teams, the MAC Red and Utica Eisenhower, and the OAA-Red Division clash on Friday night. Kickoff for the district finals at Utica Eisenhower is 7 o'clock. We'll give you updates on our coverage later on in the week on civiccentertv.com/Lakers Sports. Coach, thanks once again.
You got it. Thank you.
For our entire team at Civic Center TV and the team at the West Bloomfield High School Athletics Department, I'm Tyler Keith, thanking you for tuning in to This Week in Laker Football.